हेलो एवरीबॉडी। तो इस वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं द यूजीबी पेपर ऑफ आईएसआई 2024। एज यू नो, आईएसआई इज द इंडियन स्टैटिस्टिकल इंस्टीट्यूट व्हिच कंडक्ट्स इट्स ओन एंट्रेंस एग्जाम, और ये पेपर दो हाफ्स में डिवाइडेड होता है। द यूजीए पार्ट व्हिच इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव सेक्शन, जहां पे 30 क्वेश्चंस होते हैं विद अ मार्किंग स्कीम ऑफ +4, +1 एंड 0, जहां पे +1 इज फॉर नॉट अटेम्प्टिंग अ क्वेश्चन, और यूजी में यू हैव 8 क्वेश्चंस वर्थ 10 मार्क्स ईच। ऑलराइट, तो ये है पहला क्वेश्चन यूजीबी का। सो फर्स्ट वन इज फाइंड विद प्रूफ ऑल पॉसिबल वैल्यूज ऑफ टी such that this limit n going to infinity 1 plus 2 to the power 1 by 3 all the way till n to the power 1 by 3 divided by n to the power t is equal to some c, where c is some positive real number. Okay, also find the corresponding values of c. So बहुत ही classic example है finding the limit of a sum as an integral, right? So what we can do is we can rewrite this as, तो numerator क्या given है हमारे पास, summation r to the power 1 by 3 r going from 1 to n, right, divided by n to the power t. Now we can modify this slightly, because to convert this limit of a sum to an integral हमें क्या चाहिए? We want a 1 by n outside and we want this function to be of r by n, right? So I can rewrite this as limit n going to infinity 1 by n summation of r by n whole to the power 1 by 3 r from 1 to n, and to compensate for this by n and n to the power 1 by 3, what do we want? We want n to the power t minus 4 by 3 in the denominator, right? Okay. अब ये न्यूमरेटर क्या बन जाएगा? दिस न्यूमरेटर इज नथिंग बट, so this can be written as, see, the numerator exists individually as a limit, right? This numerator is what? It's nothing but 0 to 1 x to the power 1 by 3 dx divided by the limit as n goes to infinity n to the power t minus 4 by 3, right? And ये numerator क्या बन जाएगा? This will be nothing but divided by, so 3 by 4 हो जाएगा, right? Divided by limit n going to infinity n to the power t minus 4 by 3. Now you can clearly see, depending on this power of n, this limit will take different values, right? Agar t is exactly equal to 4 by 3, this will become 1, right? So this limit exists and it's some finite value and it's positive, right? But agar somehow this t becomes greater than 4 by 3, then you'll have 1 by n to the power something positive, which we know as n goes to infinity, ये कहाँ पे जाएगा? Infinity पे, right? So this entire limit will become 0. Similarly, if t is less than 4 by 3, this will give you a negative power of n, जो numerator में जाके will make this entire limit go to infinity, right? So to get a finite positive limit, what do we want? We want t to be exactly equal to 4 by 3, right? So the only value that t can take is 4 by 3, and the corresponding value of c would be 3 by 4, right? So this is your final answer, all right? So simple, just converting the limit of a sum as an integral and you get your final solution, all right? तो ये था पहला question. Coming to question 2. Suppose n is greater than or equal to 2, then consider this polynomial qnx, which is 1 minus x to the power n minus 1 minus x whole to the power n. तो दिखाना है कि this equation qnx has only two real roots, namely 0 and 1, right? अब clearly you can see that this already has 0 and 1 as its roots, right? ये trivially satisfy कर रहे हैं इस polynomial को. Basically what you need to prove is it can't have another third root, right? तो इसके लिए what we'll do is, let's look at the derivative of this polynomial. We know polynomials continuous functions होते हैं and they're differentiable everywhere, right? So if I look at qn prime of x, this will become minus nx to the power n minus 1 minus plus हो जाएगा, so you'll get a plus n 1 minus x whole to the power n minus 1, right? Now if I differentiate this again, if I look at the double derivative, यहाँ से क्या आ जाएगा? Minus n times n minus 1 x to the power n minus 2. यहाँ से फिर से एक माइनस बाहर आएगा, so n times n minus 1 1 minus x whole to the power n minus 2. And यहाँ से what can you take common? This minus n into n minus 1 is common, so you can rewrite this as x to the power n minus 2 plus 1 minus x whole to the power n minus 2, right? Now see, this n has two options, right? It's a natural number obviously, so it has two options. Either it can be even or odd. अगर n even हो गया, if n is even, then देखो x to the power n minus 2 is always going to be positive, 1 minus x whole to the power n minus 2 is always going to be positive, right? So this entire thing turns out to be negative because of this minus sign, right? So we can say that qn double prime of x is less than 0, right? तो अगर n even आ गया तो we can say for sure that the double derivative is always negative, right? Similarly, if n is odd, then See, 1 minus x is obviously greater than minus x because you are adding 1 on the left hand side, right? Now, if I take powers n minus 2 on both sides, क्या मिलेगा? It's an odd power, right? तो ये minus sign बाहर आ जाएगा, so you'll get x to the power n minus 2. That is n minus 2 plus x to the power n minus 2 is positive. तो अगर ये पार्ट पॉजिटिव आ रहा है फिर से बिकॉज ऑफ दिस माइनस साइन दिस ओवरऑल थिंग इज गोइंग टू बिकम नेगेटिव, राइट? तो हमें फिर से मिल रहा है कि q and double prime x is negative, right? तो combining these two we can say कि no matter what n is for any natural number n, q and double prime x हमेशा नेगेटिव आएगा, राइट? तो ये हमारा पहला कंक्लूजन, q and double prime x is less than 0 for every x in R and for all natural numbers n, right? Cool. अब हमें क्या प्रूव करना था कि it can't have three roots, right? Assume कर लेते हैं कि there are three roots, say alpha 1, alpha 2 and alpha 3, okay? In that order. Okay? Now see, if alpha 1 and alpha 2 are roots, यानी कि q and alpha 1 is equal to q and alpha 2 is equal to q and alpha 3 is equal to 0. तो इन दोनों पॉइंट्स के बीच में if I use Rolle's theorem, I can say कि there exists some beta 1 in this interval alpha 1 comma alpha 2 such that q1 prime of beta 1 is equal to 0, right? Simple Rolle's theorem. Similarly, if I use Rolle's theorem on alpha 2 and alpha 3, I can say that there exists some beta 2 in alpha 2 alpha 3 such that q1 prime beta 2 is equal to 0. ठीक है, तो we get that q1 prime has two different roots, right? अब अगर इन दोनों के बीच में I use Rolle's theorem, यानी कि beta 1 से beta 2 के बीच में, what will I get? कि there exists some gamma in this interval beta 1 comma beta 2 such that q1 double prime of gamma is equal to 0, right? तो हमें q1 double prime या double derivative of this उसका एक root मिल रहा है gamma, right? But what do we know? We already know that q1 double prime is always strictly negative, right? If this is always strictly negative, it can't have a root, right? तो हमारा assumption जो है कि it has three distinct roots, it's wrong, right? So the only roots it can have at most two roots, right? और हमें two roots already मिल रहे हैं, the trivial roots 1 and 0. यानी कि these can be the only roots of this polynomial, right? So that concludes our proof, okay? चलो, moving on to question 3. Question 3 is a geometry question. So it's given कि ABCD एक quadrilateral है whose all the internal angles are less than pi, all right? So in चारों sides पे we are constructing squares. Now you're saying that delta 1, delta 2, delta 3 and delta 4 are the areas of these four triangles, all right? So you have to prove that delta 1 minus delta 2 plus delta 3 minus delta 4 is equal to 0, right? Which is the same as proving that delta 1 plus delta 3 is equal to delta 2 plus delta 4, right? All right? अब यहाँ पे ध्यान से देखो, this is nothing but simple sine rule. Okay, if I call this angle, let's call the side lengths of the squares, right? Let's say this square has side length S1, this has S2, this has side length S3 and this has side length S4. And इनके angles को मान लेते हैं alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and alpha 4, right? Okay, so alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and alpha 4. So if I look at the area of this, delta 1 क्या आएगा? Simple sine rule say delta 1 should just be half product of these two sides times sine of the angle in between them. तो ये क्या है? S1 S4. So this will become half S1 S4 times sine of the angle which is sine alpha 1, right? Similarly delta 2 निकाल सकते हैं. Let's go with delta 3 here first. Delta 3 क्या आ जाएगा? Half of this is 2 and 3. So S2 3 sine of alpha 3. Delta 2 क्या आ रहा है? Half, this is 1 and 2, right? So S1 S2 sine alpha 2 and delta 4 similarly is going to be half. 4 के लिए क्या आएगा? 3 4 sine alpha 4, right? So we get these four areas, all right, in terms of the side lengths of the square. अब हमें क्या देख रहा है? इन दोनों के sum को देखना है, right? Observe one more thing. अगर मैं इनके बीच में इस quadrilateral के बीच में if I draw this diagonal BD, then what is this angle going to be? See, FAB, ये एक square है, right? So this is 90, this is 90, right? So these two angles should be supplementary, right? तो ये जो एंगल आएगा कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग टू अल्फा 1, दिस इज नथिंग बट पाई माइनस अल्फा 1. सो एंगल BAD is equal to pi minus alpha 1. तो यहां से if I look at the area of triangle ABD, ये क्या आ रहा है? This is going to be nothing but see, ये भी now it's again S1, right? और ये S4 है, right? So this is nothing but S1 S4 sin pi minus alpha 1, right? Now sin of pi minus theta, we know it's equal to sin theta, right? So this just turns out to be sin S1 S4 sin alpha 1, which is nothing but the value of delta 1, right? यानी कि इस triangle ABD का area कितना है? delta 1, right? So I'll just directly write it, that area of triangle ABD is equal to this. Similarly, if I look at this other side, BDC, by the same logic, ये कितना आ जाएगा? Pi minus alpha 3, so इसका area कितना आएगा? It would be the same as alpha 3, right? So this BDC is equal to, okay? Now similarly, for 2 and 4, अगर मैंने दूसरा diagonal draw कर दिया, let's go with diagonal AC, then by the same logic, ADC should be equal to alpha 4. And delta 2 का एरिया कितना आएगा? ABC. Alright, तो ये चार चीजें हमें मिल गई. Now see, if we add delta 1 plus delta 3, that's basically ABD plus BCD, right? So these two just add up to the area of the entire quadrilateral. Same goes for delta 2 and delta 4. इन दोनों को add करूंगा, so ABC plus ADC is nothing but again the area of the entire quadrilateral. तो इन दोनों का sum क्या आ रहा है? They are equal, and in fact they are equal to the area of the total quadrilateral. Okay? बट हमें बस इतना दिखाना था कि these two quantities are equal, which we already got, right? तो ये बस एक simple application था of sine rule, as simple as that, all right? So that's question 3. Coming to question 4. Question 4 क्या है कि suppose f is a R2R function which is differentiable at 0. Define another function g as follows. So gx ऐसे defined है fx sin 1 by x if x is non-zero and 0 if x is 0. Suppose given है कि g is also differentiable at x equal to 0. You have to prove that g prime, f0 and g0 these are all equal to 0. तो सबसे पहले देखो g0 0 already defined है, right, in the question. It's given. So now coming to f0. f0 के लिए observe that because this function g is differentiable at x equal to 0, it also has to be continuous at x equal to 0. That is, you want limit x going to 0, fx sin 1 by x to be equal to 0. Now, if fx is non-zero, it's going to be some constant, right? Because f, again, it's continuous and differentiable at x equal to 0. So, bring it outside as some constant. What will you get? Some c times x going to 0, sin 1 by x is 0. Which implies that this limit has to be 0, right? इस limit को 0 होना पड़ेगा. But sin x क्या है? It's an oscillatory function, right? It doesn't have a limit as x goes to 0. Yes or no? यानी कि this statement is not true. And this was entirely based on the fact कि f0 is non-zero, right? So this assumption has to be wrong. यानी कि f0 को 0 होना ही पड़ेगा for this statement to be true. That is, for g to be continuous at 0, we want f0 to be equal to 0. तो हमें मिल गया f0 is 0. Now coming to the differentiability of f and g. See, these two are differentiable, right? So we can assume that c1 is g prime 0. So that is nothing but x going to 0, f of x sin 1 by x minus g0, which is just 0, divided by x, right? Similarly, c2 can be defined as f prime 0. ये क्या आ जाएगा? Limit x going to 0, fx by x. ठीक है? This is f prime 0, this is g prime 0, right? Now see again, if f prime 0 is non-zero, I can divide these two, right? क्योंकि ये exist कर रहा है individually, so I can divide these two. तो क्या मिल जाएगा? c1 by c2 is equal to limit x going to 0. See, fx cancel हो जाएगा, x cancel out हो जाएगा, you get sin 1 by x. But the left hand side is some finite limit, right? और हमने अभी ये देखा है कि this limit does not exist, right? So you can't have c2 non-zero. ये entire point कहाँ से आ रहा है? By assuming that c2 is non-zero and dividing this, right? यानी कि c2 cannot be non-zero and you want f prime to be 0, right? So because of this, we can say that f prime 0 has to be 0, right? Okay? Now coming to g prime. g prime 0 कैसे दिखाएंगे? तो इसके लिए let's use a simple sandwich theorem. See, fx sin 1 by x divided by x. What do we know? Sin 1 by x is bounded between 1 and minus 1. So this entire function could be bounded between fx by x and minus fx by x. Now see, if we use sandwich theorem, if we let limit x going to 0 on both the sides, ये कहाँ पे जाएगा? This will converge to f prime 0. This will converge to minus f prime 0, right? But we know f prime 0 is 0. So this is getting sandwiched on both sides by 0. तो इसको कहाँ पे जाना पड़ेगा? As limit x goes to 0, you want limit of this fx sin 1 by x divided by x to be equal to 0. And what is this? This is precisely the value of g prime 0. तो क्या मिला कि g prime 0 is also 0, right? So we get all the four, right? g prime, f and g, ये सारे 0 आएंगे, all right? That's it. So just using definitions of limits and differentiations, okay? That's it. That's all we need to do in this question. Right. Coming to question 5. So एक polynomial px है with real coefficients and it's given that alpha 1 to alpha k are the distinct real roots of px equal to 0. If p prime is the derivative of 0, you need to show that for every I, this limit exists and it's equal to some ri, alright? तो इसके लिए सबसे पहले notice करो कि you have this p prime x by px term, right? And if you think about it, this p prime x by px is nothing but the derivative of log of px. Log of px को differentiate करेंगे तो क्या आ जाएगा? There's a composition of functions, right? 1 by px times p prime x आ जाएगा, which is basically what we want, right? So finding this component is just finding derivative of log of px, right? अब see, px को हम कैसे ले सकते हैं? Px can be written as some constant. So let's go with c times product I equal to 1 to k x minus alpha I whole to the power ri times some other polynomial q, right? क्योंकि हो ही सकता है कि q में p में और भी complex roots हो, right? So let's call that q. So this is constant c. तो log of px कितना आ जाएगा? This is going to be log c plus एक log बाहर आ जाएगा, let's call it log qx, right? Plus और क्या आएंगे terms? So you'll get log of all these terms, right? So that's ri, the summation ri log of x minus alpha I, right? I equal to 1 to k. Alright, so this is what we get. Now if I differentiate this, क्या आ जा रहा है? तो यहाँ से we can say that d dx of log of p of x will be constant, derivative becomes 0, log of qx क्या आ जाएगा? q prime x by qx plus for each of these terms what will you get? ri by x minus alpha I equal to 1 to k, right? Okay, now what is the ultimate term that you're looking for? X minus alpha I, p prime x by px, right? So if I look at this, this can be written as limit x going to alpha I, p prime x by px की value given है, right? Now observe that if I multiply both sides by this x minus alpha I, यहाँ पे एक x minus alpha I आ जाएगा, यहाँ पे किसी एक I के लिए you will cancel out that x minus alpha I, right? ठीक है? If you are picking one I between 1 and k, एक term के लिए it will cancel out, right? But बाकी सारे terms में it will remain in the numerator. So this can be written as क्या आ जाएगा? x minus alpha I q prime x by qx plus एक ri आ जाएगा plus you'll get summation j equal to 1 to k. As long as j is not equal to I, you'll get rj x minus alpha I divided by x minus alpha j, right? ऐसा आ जाएगा. Now see, when you take this limits, q prime of alpha is not equal to 0, q of alpha is not equal to 0, right? क्योंकि जितने भी alpha terms थे, we already took it inside that product, right? तो ये वाला part 0 हो जाएगा, right? So this quantity goes to 0. This remains. यहाँ पे see again alpha I minus alpha j is not equal to 0, right? Because these are all distinct roots. तो ये numerator 0 हो जा रहा है, तो this entire summation vanishes, right? तो ultimately क्या मिल रहा है? ri, which is exactly what you wanted to prove. तो question में बोला था just to show that it's equal to some integer ri, हमें और भी एक better चीज मिली कि this ri is nothing but the multiplicity of that root, all right? तो ये जो लिमिट हमें प्रूव करना था, दिस टर्न्स आउट टू बी द मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ अल्फा आई, ठीक है. So that proves our required statement, okay? Coming to question 6. So x1 से लेके x24 are non-negative real numbers with their entire sum equal to 1. Then find with proof the minimum and the maximum possible value of this expression. सबसे पहले तो देखो कि summation के जो indices है, they range over different values, right? So let's convert them to the same. Since summation I equal to 1 to 2024 xi, this can be broken down as 1 से लेके 1012 xi 1013 से लेके 2024 xi, right? And this entire thing is equal to 1. So इस part को I can replace it with 1 minus summation from 1013 to 2024, right? So this expression turns into 1013 to 2024 xi squared minus xi आ रहा है, right? So this can be written as this, right? Now if you think about it, तुम्हारे पास non-negative real numbers हैं जिनका entire sum is equal to 1, right? So individually we know they'll all have to be less than 1, right? So if all the xi's are less than 1, or less than equal to 1 to be precise, we know that fractions, if you increase the power, the number becomes smaller, right? So ये जो quantities हैं, they'll all be negative, right? Or basically less than equal to 0. So we can say that xi squared minus xi is going to be less than equal to 0. Right? So you want to maximize this. ये जो भी negative part है, this should become 0, right? तभी जाके ये quantity maximize होगी. So to maximize this will be less than equal to 1 अगर ये quantity vanish होती है. And this will vanish only if one of them is equal to 1 and the remaining all the terms they are equal to 0, right? So इसका maximum value हमें मिल रहा है is equal to 1, right? Now coming to the second part, which is we want to find the minimum possible value of this, right? तो minimize करने के लिए we'll work with the same expression, okay? So we have 1 xi squared I equal to 1013 to 2024 minus summation of xi over the same range, right? तो इस quantity के ऊपर if I use that quadratic mean is greater than equal to the am, I can say that this is going to be greater than equal to 1 plus summation xi divided by 1012 minus summation of xi I equal to 1013 to 2024, right? Now see, this can be further written as 1 plus, if I take this minus part outside, minus of the summation, इसको अगर मैंने common ले लिया तो क्या बचेगा? You'll have this summation, वो minus में चला जाएगा, so this becomes 1 minus this summation divided by 1012, right? Now see, if I call this summation some variable, okay, let's call this term y. Then what we have is essentially this function, right? We have minus y times 1 minus y by 1012. जहाँ पे I know that f y lies in between 0 and 1, right? Okay? ठीक है? Now if I look at the derivative of this, ये क्या आता है? F prime y is just going to be minus y, तो minus 1 आएगा, plus 2y by 1012, right? And you can see for all values of y between 0 and 1, this quantity is negative, right? Which means fy is decreasing over this interval. ठीक है? Now you have 1 plus something, right? To minimize this entire thing, what do you want? Minimum possible value of this expression, right? Yes or no? इसका जब minimum value लोगे तभी तो overall चीज minimize होगी, right? Now if it's decreasing on 0 and 1, minimum value किस end point पे आएगा? At y equal to 1, right? So we'll get the minimum value of this when this entire sum becomes equal to 1, right? So this is greater than equal to 1 plus, ये क्या हो जाएगा? Minus 1 times 1 minus 1 by 1012. So basically minus of 1 minus 1 by 1012, which just gives you 1 by 1012. So this is the minimum value of this expression, ठीक है? तो क्या मिला? हमें मिला कि इस expression की maximum value 1 हो सकती है. Minimum value is equal to 1012, right? Cool. So that's question 6. Alright, let's look at question 7. So consider a container of the shape obtained by revolving a segment of the parabola x equal to 1 plus y square around the y-axis. The container is initially empty. Water is poured at a constant rate of 1 centimeter cube per second into the container. ht is the height of the water inside the container at time t. Find the time when the rate of change of ht is maximized. Okay. So सबसे पहले देखो, how do you find the volume at any instant? So it starts with y equal to -1 and goes all the way till y equal to +1, right? तो मान लेते हैं कि ht टाइम तक यहां तक हाइट पहुंची है. So how do we do this? Take some small cylindrical element with height equal to dy and इसका radius कितना आ जाएगा? Radius is the x quantity, right? So that's just going to be 1 plus y square, right? So what is the volume? The volume can be written as ओवरऑल वॉल्यूम. तो इस एलिमेंट का वॉल्यूम कितना आ जाएगा? 1 plus y square whole square times dy times pi, right? तो ओवरऑल वॉल्यूम should just be integral -1 till the height we have reached so far pi times 1 plus y square whole square dy, right? Okay. Now if we differentiate this, what do we get? We'll get that b prime t is equal to pi times 1 plus ht whole square times dh by dt, right? This is what we'll get. Now see, v prime t is basically the rate at which the volume is changing, right? और वो हमें given है. It's poured at a constant rate of 1 centimeter cube per second, which means this quantity is nothing but 1. तो हमें यहाँ से dh by dt की क्या expression मिल रही है? We can say that dh by dt is nothing but 1 by pi times 1 plus ht squared whole squared. Now you need to maximize this rate of change of this, right? Rate of change of height. Now see, this rate of change of height is equal to this expression, which is maximized जब ये denominator minimize होगा. अभी एक perfect square है, ये minimize कब होगा? जब ht की value 0 आएगी, right? Okay? So you want ht to be equal to 0. तभी जाके this rate of change will be maximized, right? Now how do you find that? ht equal to 0 यानी कि you know what the volume is, right? ht equal to 0 यानी कि तुम्हें वॉल्यूम मिल जाएगी. So you'll get -1 to 0 pi times 1 plus y square whole square dy, right? This is the volume. Just point पे the rate of change of height is getting maximized, right? So what will be the time? This divided by the rate of change at which the water is flowing, right? Which is just 1. So this is your required time, all right? अभी ये integral निकालना is very easy. It's just one. It's a polynomial of y, right? So you can find this integral divided by 1. That is your required time t. All right. Okay. So that's question 7. Coming to question 8. In a sports tournament involving n teams, each team plays every other team exactly once. At the end of every match, the winning team gets 1 point and the losing team gets 0 points. At the end of the tournament, the total points received by the individual teams are arranged in a decreasing order. Okay. So you have to prove that this bounds hold. तो सबसे पहले देखो, you are working with xk. So what we'll do is let's divide it into two groups. से पहले इंस्टेंस पे x1 से all the way till xk, and let's say g2 is xk plus 1 all the way till x capital N, right? Now observe that according to this hierarchy, xk is the smallest among all these, right? Yes or no? So xk is less than equal to this. So xk is less than equal to x1, xk is less than equal to x2, all the way till xk is less than equal to xk, right? So if I add all of this, I can say that kxk is less than equal to sum of the points in this entire group, right? So total points of G1. Total points of G1 कैसे define कर रहे हैं? The sum of the points of all the teams in this first group, right? This, right? So xk is definitely going to be smaller than 1 by k times this, right? Okay. Now let's try to find a bound on the total points of G1, okay? So if you look at G1, इनके आपस में जितने भी matches हुए हैं, there'll be k choose 2 matches that they have played against each other, right? वो जितने भी points हैं, they are among these teams themselves, right? वो points आपस में ही distributed है, so they'll all contribute to this total points, right? So if you look at the total points, so xk less than equal to 1 by k times total points में पहला component आ जाएगा simply k choose 2 plus इस ग्रुप और इस ग्रुप में कितने मैचेस हुए हैं? यहाँ पे you have n minus k teams, right? And यहाँ पे you have k teams, right? At most assume भी कर ले कि सारे मैचेस इन्होंने जीते हैं, तो this can be bounded by k times n minus k. So this is an upper bound on the total points that group 1 got, right? तो यहाँ से क्या मिल रहा है कि xk is less than equal to 1 by k minus 1 by 2 n minus k. And if we simplify this, you'll see we get xk less than equal to n minus k आ जाएगा यहाँ से, प्लस यहाँ से क्या आ रहा है, प्लस k minus 1 by 2, which is nothing but n minus k plus 1 by 2. Okay, so that gives us the upper bound on this value of xk, all right. Okay. Now coming to the second part, finding the lower bound of this. So we'll come up with a similar group division. अब क्या करना है, बस g1 में x1 को मत रखो. So take it all the way till k minus 1 and write g2 as xk all the way till xn, right? अब again, same idea अगर use करें, now see xk is going to be greater than all of these because this is in a descending order, right? So यहाँ पे कितने terms है, n minus k plus 1. So by the same logic, I can say that n minus k plus 1 xk is greater than equal to total points of group 2. Now see, total points of group 2 is आपस में जितने भी मैचेस खेले वो तो डेफिनेटली आएंगे, प्लस ग्रुप 1 के अगेंस्ट जितने भी मैचेस जीते थे, बट इट्स डेफिनेटली ग्रेटर देन आपस में जितने भी मैचेस खेलेंगे, इवन इफ आई अज्यूम कि इनसे सारे हार रहे हैं, बिकॉज वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड द मिनिमम वैल्यू ऑफ दिस, राइट? सो दिस इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू बी ग्रेटर देन n minus k plus 1, choose 2, वो कितना आ जाता है, n minus k plus 1 times n minus k divided by 2. So this and this will cancel out, so you get that xk is greater than equal to n minus k by 2, okay, which is basically the lower bound that we wanted, right? So that's it. So the entire idea was just coming up with this group division and using this idea of descending order of points, all right? So that completes the paper. Hope you liked it. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment, okay?